Hello, good morning. I'm back in the UK. Gosh, what a journey it is to come back as well. I left the hotel in Arizona at around about 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning to go to the airport. And I got into my house on Wednesday at about 5:30, 5:45 in the evening. There is an 8-hour time difference, but still it is a very long way to travel. It's an arduous journey. It was so nice to be home last night. The boys gave me a wonderful welcome, and it was so lovely to get into your own bed, get into your own shower. And do you know what? I slept 14 hours. I couldn't believe it this morning when I woke up that I had actually slept 14 hours solid. That's unheard of for me. Anyway, I'm back. Got lots and lots of things to do today. My priority was to get all the orders out that came in whilst I was away. So thank you for those who have patiently waited for their booklets to be dispatched. They are now all in the post. You were my first job of the morning. Today, we are releasing our new Bristol Sampler, and we have got 5 Bristol Samplers in our portfolio, and the one that we've released today is Mary Hillier. Here she is, a very beautiful sampler in her own right, but I also think an extremely beautiful Bristol sampler. She was released, not released, she was made available for those people who were attending the Bristol Weekend at the Attic, and she is now available today on general release. The Bristol Weekend at the Attic was so special. If ever you get the opportunity to listen to Claudia Dutcher-Kitzler talk about Bristol Samplers, grab it with both hands. And even if you've heard one of her talks before, as her collection is continually expanding, her knowledge is expanding as well, and she has new samplers, to tell you the stories behind. When I presented Mary at the Bristol Weekend, I tried to explain why Bristol Samplers are so important. And I'm sure that you, like myself, when you had your children, I remember looking at my son when he was born and thinking, gosh, I want to make your life special. I want to look after you, make the world the best possible place for you. And of course, following behind that thought is, who will look after you if something happens to me? And for those orphans, it was George Mueller that looked after them. And that always gets me as a mother. And I also think as well about the fear that those children must have felt as they entered the orphanage. I think that most people were born with a fear of the workhouse in Victorian times, and for orphans going into this institution, it must have felt very much like going into a workhouse until they actually got there and realised that it was a place where they were cared for. It wasn't like the workhouses that feature in Charles Dickens' novels and the orphanages and the workhouses that featured in those novels. These orphanages that George Mueller ran in Bristol, they did genuinely care for those children. Now, these samplers, when I'm reproducing them and you have them in your hand, you always think about, what did that child think and feel about as they were stitching their sampler? Those samplers were very important because they were what they took to their prospective employees to show their skills. So their needlework could determine the role that they had in life. In the orphanages, if they showed diligence and industry, there was a chance that they might have been identified for further training to get a better job. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. Let me tell you a little bit about Mary Hillier. We know from the British newspaper archives that her father, who worked on the railway, suffered a dreadful accident. He slipped as a train came by and both his feet went under a passing train, and the newspaper said they were dreadfully crushed. He was taken to hospital and both his feet were amputated, and the newspaper report noted that he was expected to recover. However, he died within a few days. Maybe sepsis or gangrene set in, or maybe it was just the shock, because it must have been an awful thing to happen, but he died. And then Mary's mother died within a year of pneumonia at the county lunatic asylum. Now, a lunatic asylum didn't mean that she was insane. It was just a place that very poor people went to get medical care at that time, as well as being a home for mentally insane people. Now, we know that Mary and her sister Lucy were taken in by their aunt Sarah Gray. And Sarah had 4 children of her own, and her husband was only a labourer on the railway, so his wages must have been very low, and it must have been a dreadful strain on the household to feed an extra 2 mouths. She tried, because she kept Mary and Lucy for 2 years before they went into the orphanage. Mary remained in the orphanage until 1868, when she was 16 years old, and then she was sent to work as a housemaid for a Reverend E.E. Jenkins at Clyde House, Bristol. My mouth's not working properly this morning. Brixton in London, and that must have been quite an experience for her, going from Bristol all the way to London, to the big city, and adjusting to life there. Now, we know that Mary returned to Bristol because we find her in the census return. In 1883, at 30 years of age, Mary married a widower, David Lewis, who was 73. He was 43 years older than her. We know that he was living on his own means in a boarding house, and Mary was living in the boarding house with him. They had no children, and David died in 1899, and when he died, his estate, if we equate it to today's values, was worth £1.2 million. So widowhood emancipated Mary. She was very financially secure, and she could do whatever she wanted. We hope that she had great fun enjoying all that money. Now, we can't find her after the 1901 census, and it could have been because she remarried, or it could have been because she went to Australia. Her sister Lucy ended up in Australia, in New South Wales. So, Mary may have gone over there to spend the rest of her life with Lucy. Maybe she found a young man to enjoy life with. We don't know. Anyway, a little bit more about Mary's actual sampler. She is 286 stitches by 328 stitches. She is entirely worked in cross stitch over 2, so you can stitch her on linen Aida or Linada. we used Soie 103, the shade number of 681 to stitch her, but she will look beautiful in DMC 2922 or Soie d'Alger in 2922. Sorry, I've just given you the same number twice. DMC 321 or Soie d'Alger in 2922. We chose Legacy Linen Foxtail Millet to stitch Mary. We've actually used the same shade for all of our Bristol samplers, except for Louisa. Louisa was stitched on a different brand of linen, but it is the same shade as Foxtail Millet. Now with Legacy Linen, the colour name relates to the count of linen. So the same colour on 30 count would be Victoria's Sponge Cake, on 37 count Corn Tassel, and on 63 count it would be Sycamore Seapod. So Sycamore Seapod, Foxtail Millet, Corn Tassel and Victoria's Sponge Cake, they are all the same colour, but the name determines the count. I hope that makes sense. We really enjoy reproducing Bristol samplers. I do think it's a sampler whereby the girls' stories should be told. Each one has a heartbreaking story. Some of them have very happy endings, some not so. We actually tagged this sampler as Beyond the Orphanage is a journey full of hopes and aspirations, and that's something that George Mueller did give the children, hope and aspirations. They, there was obviously always sometimes very naughty children that you couldn't do anything with, but the majority of the children, they left the orphanage with hope and aspiration. So there we are. Mary is now available in Needlework stores throughout the world. Our distributors have copies of those charts, and Mary is available on our website as a printed booklet and as a PDF download. Which doggy have I got here? It's Hugo. Do you know, they gave me such a lovely welcome when I got home. He was glued to me last night. When I woke up this morning, I was on the edge of the bed and he was plastered to my side. I couldn't move. Anyway, that's Mary. Enjoy her. And I know that the Attic Needleworks are going to have another Bristol Weekend next year, which they're calling Bristol 3, because it will be the third time that they hold the event. And if you get the opportunity to sign up and go, it's well worth it. The Bristol Weekend is not only about Bristol samplers, it's also about perforated paper. And you may ask why. Well, a lot of the orphans worked or did needlework on perforated paper. They made postage stamp holders, needle cases, bookmarks, all sorts of things with perforated paper, which they embroidered, and they would give to each other as gifts. They would give to their teachers as gifts as well, and they also sold them to earn some money, and that's why there's a big tie-in with perforated paper to Bristol samplers. I will do a proper video on Sunday where we'll catch up and it'll be back to normal. But before I do so, I want to talk about Millie McBean's Needlework Fripperies. All throughout the week I've been away, and this morning I woke up to an inbox full of questions about Minnie McBean's. Well, Minnie McBean's Needlework Fripperies is a little business that my friend Sue, who lives near me and has featured in my Flosstubes, has started. And Sue is making the most gorgeous fripperies for needlework. Her first offerings are these beautiful thread drop holders or scissor fobs. I've been using mine as scissor fobs, and they really are very beautiful. This one has the flower, the heart flower from Mrs. Campbell's border in, and it has a little heart crystal and a little heart made with love, and then it has a big heart with a little dangly heart and lots of little hearts hanging off it. I just think that's so beautiful. And then another one is this lovely heart-shaped one, and it features Harriet Goddard. And then again, we've got the little heart crystal and some butterflies. One of the presents from Jean on the weekend was a beautiful Bristol themed scissor fob thread drop ring holder. And then the other product that Sue is making, and I really, really love this, is what she calls a natty pin. And a natty pin like that is the pin that Scottish people used to weigh their kilt down so it doesn't flap open. Where Sue comes from, it's always been known as a natty pin. And Sue has taken a natty pin and she's added all sorts of charms on there. Now, on my natty pin, which was a gift from Sue, she put my initials, the N and the P, which was taken from Harriet Salt, and she did this for me as a little present to take away to the Bristol Weekend with me. It's just delightful. Now, I love wearing a brooch, and Sue knows that. If ever I go out, I've always got a brooch, either on my shirt, my jacket, and I often wear brooches on my jeans. A nice big brooch instead of a belt, or I might actually wear a brooch on my trousers here. That's the rock chick coming out to me. With the natty pin, you can wear it on your person, or you can put it onto a pin cushion, or also I actually had this attached to my little red case that I was using whilst I was away. I love pretties. I love when I sit down in my sewing chair, I like to have lovely little things around me. It sort of enhances my enjoyment of, you savour your stitching time, and if you can make your environment as cosy and as lovely as possible, it just enhances the entire experience. Now, Sue in due course will have an Etsy store, but she's had so much interest in her products that she literally can't keep up with orders at the moment, but give her a few weeks and she will have an Etsy store for these items. But at the moment, you can get these items either from Hobby House Needleworks or the Attic Needleworks. I know that Kathy has been putting these on her website as fast as she can, and as fast as she's been putting them on, they've been selling out. I know that Jean has got a big order arriving in the next few days, so you can get them from Hobby House Needleworks or the Attic Needleworks. But there they are. They're so beautiful. Now, with the natty pin, Jean came up with a wonderful idea of actually using a magnet to secure them. So if you wanted to put this on your shirt, you can just use a little magnet to put it on rather than put it through your shirt. I actually used my natty pin by putting it through my shirt to start with, but I actually thought that these little magnets were a super idea, providing of course you haven't got a pacemaker. If you have a pacemaker, I don't believe you can use a magnet on your body, but it's just so pretty. I love this, and I actually have a few brooches that do have some sort of dangles on, and I just love them. Really, really love them. So, so pretty. Anyway, that's it for today. Back to normal sort of routine and schedule for my floss tubes on Sunday. But in the meantime, enjoy Mary, enjoy all the Bristol girls. They are so lovely. I suppose I ought to give their names, shouldn't I? This one is Mary 395. Mary never put her surname on her sampler, only her bed number. And that is just so sad to associate yourself with a bed number. This one is Harriet Salt, which is magnificent. Harriet will always have a particularly soft spot in my heart. Then we have Louisa Collymore, which was the first Bristol sampler that we ever reproduced. And here we have the Pinkenell sisters, Clara and Maud, the Hope and Love sampler. They are just so, so beautiful. Can't stop looking at them. Oh, look at Hugo. Look what he's done, the little stinker. He's got me all muddified. There we are. That's the pleasure of having dogs. Anyway, until Sunday, stay safe, stay well. Bye-bye.